Hey guys, Rich here, Rich's Custom Marine and Auto. So today we're going to set up and break in this Predator 212. This is a Hemi versus the non-Hemi, which I'll get into that in a little bit, but go ahead and take this thing out of the box. The plan with this engine is we're friends with a family that has two boys that are go-kart racing, and the older boy already is set up with a go-kart. The younger boy doesn't have one yet, or he's got a chassis but no engine. So I had a couple of these Predators sitting around. It just so happens that a stock Predator is what they use in that class. So I wanted to hook them up here with a new engine. Alright, so this is what comes in the box. This is the top cover, the manual. Make sure you follow that for the break-in. The initial break-in for these is 3 hours. I know a lot of people just throw these things on and go, and that's fine for some people. Those of you that have followed the channel know that I'm more of a by-the-book kind of guy. Mainly because in this case, if something happens to it and you need to take it back, you can say, well, I followed what the book said, and you're being honest. So I have this board here that I will mount it down to. That just will keep it from bouncing around a lot while it's running. So I'm going to get this thing mounted to the board, and then I'll turn the camera back on when we're adding oil and fuel and getting ready to run it. Alright, so we'll get ready to put oil in it here. Get you a nice clean funnel. Right here's the oil dipstick. Now, the proper way to check this, a lot of people don't realize, they'll unscrew it and just look at it. You're supposed to unscrew it, wipe it off completely, then set it against the threads and pull it back out and read it. Of course, it's empty right now because we don't have any oil in it, but I just wanted to share that with you. I'm going to be using this AMSOIL break-in oil. It's a straight 30 weight, which will work just fine for this. You're supposed to use 10W30 is what they recommend for most climates. There is a chart in the book that if you're in a hotter climate, you can use a little bit thicker oil. I have this oil from when I used to be an AMSOIL dealer. I'm not anymore. And it works perfect for these. The initial break-in period on these engines is 3 hours of runtime. So you definitely want to make sure you keep track of what time you start it and what time you shut it off. You can also put a tiny tack or some other type of hour meter on there. I do that on all of my personal Predators that I have. I'm not going to do that on this one because likely the boy's dad's probably going to run a Micron or something like that they use more commonly on the go-karts. Okay, so if we were to check it now, you can see we're pretty good. Also, it might be hard to see from the camera, but it's even with the bottom of the threads right there too, which is actually the level you want it to be at. That's a good rule of thumb for most small engines. So, follow the owner's manual. It makes it very clear. As I said, the initial break-in period is 3 hours. At which point you can then go ahead and start using this on whatever, whether it's a chipper or a rototiller or whatever, you can go ahead and put it into service. During the first 3 hours, it says not to use full throttle, so you want to make sure not to do that. And so you also, a standard thing for breaking engines in is you don't want to just let it sit at, say, half throttle for 3 hours. That's not good. You want to vary. So I usually go out about every 15 minutes and change the throttle a little bit. And then after an hour's run time, I just let it sit and completely cool down, because that really helps let the piston rings get seated well. The next thing we need to do, of course, is put fuel in it, but I want to show you guys something first. So if you look at this valve cover, you can see this is cast. It's kind of rough, and it's got, that's called the air filter nipple, they call that. So this is the Hemi head, and then if you look at this, the stamped steel, no nipple, just the line pushed into a hole. This is the non-Hemi. So the difference between them, of course, is hemispherical head or not. For whatever reason, the non-Hemi, well, there is a reason. The non-Hemi, there's more performance parts for it. Because the way the valves sit in the head, there's more room for clearance on the pistons. So that's the reason there's more performance stuff. There is plenty of stuff that will work on these Hemis. Of course, the carburetor, you can put whatever carburetor you want. You can change the exhaust. You can do that. But when you start getting into where you're replacing the cylinder head, or you're replacing internals, the non-Hemi is going to be the way to go. And the reason I'm giving the little boy this one is because the class is called box stock. So, I mean, you can figure that out. It's got to come out of the box. You can't change anything with the air filter. You can't change anything with the exhaust. You can't tape over the intake to get it to run a little hotter, which makes them perform a little better. You can't modify the ignition. So this isn't going to work for my application, but it'll be perfect for him for several years. So that's the reason. And for him it's free, so that works out well. So I'm going to go ahead and get some gas in here, and then we'll get ready to do the first start. Alright, so we got it all fueled up, and just for clarification, this is what I'll be using after the 3-hour break-in. Normally I use Mobile, not Mobile 1, but just Mobile. But the SuperTech, any non-synthetic will work great. I probably wouldn't go to synthetic. If you did it all in this small engine, I probably wouldn't go to that until after the 20-hour mark. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and turn the fuel on, give it a little bit of throttle, put the choke on, and turn the switch on. I'm just going to make sure it'll fire up here real quick before I set it on the ground. Give it a second for the fuel to run in, and let's see what happens. Pretty impressive. Alright, so let me go find a spot in the yard that I can set this thing, and we'll get going on the run-in. Okay, this is where we're at. We got a nice spot next to a big old tree stump there, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's already starting to smell. The paint on the exhaust is getting hot and all that. That's normal. Just want to make sure you have it in a spot where nothing's really dry or anything like that. Think about fire. right next to it is our garden hose, which is charged. So, and I've got a fire extinguisher in the shop that's 10 feet away. So we'll go ahead and do this first initial run here. I'll do 15 minutes and then shut it down and check the oil, make sure that it's not consuming a ton of oil and doesn't run out. Alright, so that's our first 15 minutes. We'll let it rest for a moment so the oil can drain down, and we'll check the oil level. Guys, you always want to let the engine, bring it down to the lowest idle and let it idle for probably a minute, a full minute at least. Especially if you've been running it really hard once it's broke in. It's not good just to shut these things off. I know everybody looks at them as they're a throwaway engine, but let it idle for like a full minute and then shut it off. And if you're going to be done for, say, the week or the season or whatever, then go up here and shut the fuel off while it's at low idle, and it'll run about a minute and just shut itself off, or it'll run out of fuel and die. But that'll also help prevent your carburetor getting gummed up. So another thing I'll share with you while we're waiting for the oil to drain down, make sure we get an accurate read, is on this one the throttle lever was really hard to move. That's pretty easy to fix. So if you go straight down from the top, and then there's that bolt right there in the center of the screen. It's a 10 millimeter. Just get an extension and a ratchet and back that off. Back it off till the throttle lever will stay in its position, but it's a lot easier to move, and that's what I did there. Also, if you're going to put this on a go-kart or something with a remote throttle even, you can kind of see right there, past my finger, that's a collet that you can put a cable in. It's kind of hard to get the camera in there. But anyways, yeah, there's a collet there, right there. And you'll back that nut off all the way so that this is really easy to move, and that way you can have, like I say, if it's a go-kart, you can have a foot throttle, or if it's something else, you can have a remote throttle and it'll work. So let's check the oil here. Also, I don't want to make you guys think you got to go out and buy break-in oil for these things. Yeah, it's actually pretty full. It's not quite completely level, and it is common for the oil to be a little fuller after you've run it, because the oil expands when it gets hotter. But you don't have to go out and buy a special break-in oil. You can. It's probably a little bit better for the engine. I just happened to have that, so I went ahead and used it. But if you just use a non-synthetic 10W30, it'll work just fine. So what we'll do now is we're going to go ahead and fire this thing back up, and I'm going to bump the throttle up just a little bit more, and we'll let it go for 30 minutes, and then we'll do that again. Alright guys, so we've done the 3 hours of run time with rest in between, letting it cool down. I'm going to take the uphill dipstick out just so it can breathe. You can see I got a block underneath there. And then I've already broken this drain plug loose. Go ahead and take the drain plug out. And I'm draining this hot on purpose, guys, because I want to get all the debris and stuff out of there I can that's suspended in the oil. So this thing just got shut off, not meaning the time to grab a 10mm socket and extension. So what, a minute or two? So we'll let that thing sit there and drip out. The other thing I'm going to do, but I'll wait until tomorrow. I'm going to go in and check the valves, because it sounded like towards the end there the valves were getting a little bit loud, which is not unnormal as the things start to break in and run in together and find their happy spot. So that's what you do for break-in. As I said earlier, this thing's going to get non-synthetic conventional 10W30. And what I like to do is I'll actually pour a little bit in the dipstick hole there to flush out some of the debris that sits in the bottom that doesn't come out. But that's not completely necessary. It's just something that I do. You guys can see there's a decent amount of break-in material in there, metal, but that's normal. That's what it should look like. So so for me, it'll be tomorrow that we adjust those valves. For you guys, that'll happen just in a few seconds. So we'll see you then. All right, so we're ready to pull the valve cover off here. I've taken air and blown all the dust and stuff off of there from when we ran it. And just so you know, I've already broke these loose previously. You want to be real careful here when you pry this off so you don't damage the sealing surface. Actually, it looks like the engine's got a chip. It's brand new and it looks like it's got a chip up there already. It's interesting. Okay, so you can see there, it looks like there's a little bit of the red oil in there, so you can tell it was getting good oil. Next thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead and pull the spark plug out. So you'll need a 13/16 socket for that. We were going to do this anyways as part of the checks after breaking it in. Actually looks pretty good. We'll double check the gap on that as well. So what that's going to do is let us roll the engine over a lot easier without fighting compression. Okay guys, we'll get set up here to set these valves to 4/1000. I just wanted to show you what we're looking at clearance wise. So right in there, that's where you want to put your feeler gauge. Now you want to make sure that you're on or just past top dead center. You can test that easily by gently putting a screwdriver in the cylinder and pulling the pull rope over until it pushes up on the screwdriver, and then it'll start to go back down. Once it just barely starts to go back down, you can stop there. So we'll go ahead. This is the intake. That one's actually medium drag, so it's just about right. So that's good. And the exhaust is a little bit tight, so let me grab the tools real quick so we can adjust that. Alright, so 9 millimeters for the jam nut, and then I've got this is a little tiny deal. You could probably get away with using needle nose on there real carefully. Okay, and so what I like to do is I'll actually adjust it by hand. So I back it off, put the feeler gauge in there, then run it down till I get close to the drag that I want. Then we can lock it down and check it. Sometimes it will change a little bit. As you can see, we've moved it a little bit. Yeah, see, it went back to a little too tight, so we'll back it off just a little bit. Back it off just a smidge more. Okay, a little snug, but that's okay. So I want to explain what happens here real quick. So we'll go through, that's the exhaust stroke, and then the intake stroke. But then you'll see this rocker will move just a little bit right there. And that's the compression release, so you can pull start this thing a heck of a lot easier. It just bleeds off a tiny bit of compression, and there's a little arm on the camshaft, and once the engine starts running, that arm moves out of the way so that the valve opens like normal. So now at this point, let's check the gap on the spark plug. Gap's just about 30 thousandths like it's supposed to be. That's perfect. Put a dab of anti-seize on the back of the spark plug behind the strap. Run that in, and these engines do come with a spark plug tool. You just want to snug that. You don't want it super tight. It's going into aluminum. But this is the tool and the crossbar that comes with the engine. And now, because there's just a tiny bit of damage to the gasket there, I'm going to put a little bit of ultra black RTV sealant on there. and then we'll reinstall the valve cover. Alright, so super light bead. Started in that breather hose first. Okay, and these are small bolts, guys, so just enough to seat it. They don't have to be cranked down. So I am going to go ahead and do the book procedure. I'm going to go ahead and pull the spark plug back out. In the owner's manual it says if the engine's going to be stored, or if you're not sure the next time it's going to run, to put a tablespoon of oil in the cylinder and then put the spark plug back in and pull it through twice. So we're going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then the other thing we're going to do, which we'll make sure to show you guys, but we're going to pull this carburetor drain screw and make sure, even though we ran it out of fuel, there's probably still just a little bit down in there. Okay, and I've got this little mechanics syringe here that I put a little bit of oil in, and I'll just go ahead and inject that into there. Now we put the plug back in. And guys, when you go to run this after it's been stored, because of this little bit of oil, it's going to smoke, but not real bad. So the theory behind this is you put the oil in the cylinder, pull it through 2 rounds of compression. Compression, of course, being when it gets kind of hard to pull. And then the book says leave it up against compression. So basically, so the piston's at the top. But this is to distribute that oil around the rings. So there's compression there. There's compression there. And I'm going to pull it until right there I feel the compression again. So that's good. We'll just stick plug wire back on, and then we'll get set up to drain that fuel out. Alright, so we got a cup set up there, 10 millimeter. Take this little bolt loose. And as expected, there's a little bit. This bolt has got a crush seal on it. You want to make sure that stays in good shape, otherwise your engine won't run quite right. So now I'm gonna tip this okay, and that should do that. Also, if you guys really wanted, you could put just barely insert the straw of like WD-40 can, and just do like 1 squirt in there and then put the drain bolt back in. This one is not going to be sitting that long, so I'm not going to worry about doing that since we drained it. And then, as long as you cleaned your container out good, which mine, there's actually a little bit of, probably can't see it, but there's actually a little bit of stuff in the bottom of it, so I'll dispose of that properly later. So hey guys, thanks for watching. These are all the steps to do with breaking in a Predator. You could use this for just about any little small engine, whether it's a vertical shaft or like this one with the horizontal shaft. Make sure you follow the manufacturer's recommendations. Off the top of my head, I don't know what Honda's recommendations are for their GX series and stuff like that, but follow those. Make sure you check the valves, take a look at your spark plug, and then if you're going to store it, do the things we did. The other thing that the book recommends you do is any of the exposed metal parts, like probably more of the bare stuff back here, and then down where the throttle linkage is. They tell you to spray that with a protectant, so you could put maybe some WD-40 or PB Blaster or something like that. Again, when you go to fire this thing up, it's going to burn that off and it's going to smoke a little and stink, but that's okay. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Give me your thoughts. Put your thoughts down below on, is this a waste of time? Can you just throw fuel and oil in here and go? I'd love to hear that, hear you guys' thoughts. Either way, of course, personally, I think, if you want something to really last, you take care of it and do these few steps. Especially changing that oil after the first 3-hour run-in period. The book says you don't have to change the oil until 20 hours. Getting that initial break-in metal material out of there does a lot for longevity of the engine. So these things aren't as cheap as they used to be. Back in the day, you could get one for $80 with the coupon. Then for a while, you could get them for $100, and now these things go for $150, $165. And if you're very, very lucky, every now and then they'll have a blowout where they have them back down to $100, to $99.95. So take care of your stuff; it'll take care of you. So please like and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. We're almost to 400 subscribers. We're trying to get to 500 and beyond, and keep growing and doing things. So once this go-kart engine gets put on the little boy's go-kart, it'll be next year now, next season, because the season's over here in the Northwest. We'll be doing some videos on that and some videos of his racing and stuff like that. So like and subscribe if you would, guys. It helps us out. And check out my other videos. There's all kinds of automotive and generator and small engine, chainsaws, all of that stuff. And bound to be something in there that'll help you out. And we'll see you guys in the next one.